energy to our beloved Hmt NTR Maat. Remetch.
Nini. Please remain standing. Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Audu alma. Htp Pet. The translation is:
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself for God daily. And may tomorrow be as today.
We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the NTR, who is the light of the light of heaven, light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality. And in the moments of crisis, in the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is, and so shall it be. Everyone say, Hmt Maat. Ma'akaru. 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 Let's see. You know, sometimes when Armin Cowell starts going in his comedy career and talking about how he's not really a drug dealer, I just want to be like, the opinions of Sir Chef Armin Cowell do not reflect. Anyway, so today we're here to celebrate Kemetic. Excuse me, no, we're not here to celebrate Kemetic. That's in a couple weeks. We're here to celebrate Htp Pet, which is the festival of heavenly satisfaction. And those of you who have celebrated this holiday with us before in the past, you guys have a little bit of insight into how we celebrate this holiday. This is an opportunity really for us to kind of goal set and level set for the cycle that we're now in. Now, I know some of us in the year, you know, don't really care for the Gregorian calendar cycle. You know, we believe the new year starts at the spring equinox, or the new year starts at Htp Pet, or the new year starts at the change of the lunar cycle. There's a lot of different cycles that we honor and that we respect. And at the end of the day, the Gregorian calendar cycle is one of those cycles, like it or not, because all of us want to get paid every 2 calendar weeks and not every 2 Kemetic weeks, which is 20 days instead of 14 days. All of us have to file our taxes by April 15th, and some of us are looking forward to quite hefty tax returns, are we not? So the calendar year, even if just fiscally, it does mean something to us. And therefore, because it is a cycle that in some way influences and affects our lives, it does benefit us to use the energy of this cycle, just like we would use and capitalize on the energy of every other cycle that affects our lives. Y'all understand that? Sure. So when we think about level setting and creating goals, you know, this holiday really gives us the opportunity to determine the ways that we're going to use this year and use the lessons of this year, use the opportunities of this year, use the energies of this year to help us to satisfy heaven, to help us to satisfy the NTR, to help us to satisfy our ancestors, and to help us to come one step closer to how it is that we're living in our purpose and how it is that we're Ankh in Ma'at, living in Ma'at. So when we approach and come up and we share with the community the goal that we're setting for the year, it's essential that we be honest about whether or not this is a goal we can actually achieve. It's important that we be clear about whether or not this is a goal that we're really going to be committed or devoted to. And it's also essential that we be clear that this is a goal that we are prepared to actually succeed. Because we can talk about success in a lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, one of the most important aspects of success is that success comes to those who are prepared for it. If you're not prepared for success, meaning you haven't structured your life in such a way that success is inevitable for you, then you are likely not to achieve or experience the measure of success that you might be wanting or expecting or hoping for. That's not to say that you might not experience some good things in your life. You're bound to experience some good things if you're doing some good things. But some good things is not the same as setting up a lifestyle that is making success the only inevitable conclusion for you. Right? So how is it that we live a life in such a way that failure is just not an option? Because everything that we're doing mandates that the end result is our success. Okay? So I connect this back to Wabet Kisa because she does the astrology readings every single communion. And one of the things that we've heard her talk about when she shares the astrology energy of the moment is she says that there's a specific way that we're supposed to use the lunar cycle energy to help us to achieve the goal that we set. So for example, we're going to get up today and we're going to set a goal for ourselves for the year. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to experience the Aquarius new moon. So I'm gonna use an example. I'm going to set my example to be that I'm going to start my business this year, right? So at the Aquarius new moon, I'm going to use the energy of Aquarius, which is an air energy. And I'm going to use that energy to help me to write out my plans, to help me think about my intentions and make sure that I'm clear about my business plans and what that's going to look like and how that's going to be structured. I'm going to use the energy of Pisces, which is a water and emotional sign and also a communal sign, to talk to other people and get their feedback and their input, to talk to other business owners and ask them for their guidance or their mentorship. I'm going to use that opportunity to find out if people resonate with the plans that I'm setting and if there's resonance with the business that I'm creating. I'm going to use the Aries new moon, which is Aries is the initiator sign, it's the fire cardinal sign. I'm going to use that to start my business and to use that Aries energy as a launch pad for my business. I'm going to use the Taurus energy, that earth grounding, fixed Taurus energy to find out if there's any cracks in the foundation of my business and rebuild some areas in my business that might be weak. I'm going to use the Gemini new moon to market and offer communications to my networks about my business and to increase the things happening on my website and the emails that are going out and the flyers that are going out and making sure that my communications are clear, because that's what's in alignment with that Gemini air mutable energy. So do y'all understand where I'm going with this? Like month by month by month, we're thinking about the new moon is in this sign and this sign is good for this type of work. And so I'm going to use this as a way by which I build my business in this specific way. And by the time you've done that through a whole 12-month cycle, you've not only gone through all of the new moon signs, but you've also built your business. Little by little, step by step. So it's not a situation where I get up today and I say, I'm going to build my business, and then I don't do anything, and then I turn around in August and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't worked on my business plan. I haven't done anything. I haven't set myself to achieve the goal that I set. It's a matter of using the cycles and the opportunities that we already have in place to reinforce what it is that we're trying to do. So it still goes back to having respect for cycles, right? So the lunar cycle is a small cycle. It happens every month. And then there's the daily cycle that we honor with Dua'u, right? The sunrise, noon, sunset. Okay, but what's happening with 2020 is a larger cycle. It's the cycle of like the 1 through 9 as far as every year. And so it's a 9-year cycle. And when you study numerology, you understand that within that 9-year cycle, really like a 10-year cycle, there's actually little parts that get broken down. So it's not just one big cycle, it's 3 little cycles that all make a big cycle. So we've already gone through the energy of 1 through 3. And that small cycle is about making sure that we understand who we are, what we want, where we're going, what is our purpose. That's the beginner's place. That's That's the initiator's place. So now in 2020, we're in our 4th stage. So now it's about establishing. Now it's about structure. So we can't get away from the conversations around structure and discipline this year. That's actually probably the most important conversation for any of us to have, is to make sure that we're living our lives in such a way that, yes, we're in a box, but we're in a box of our own making, a box of our own choosing, and a box that was created to help us achieve our highest goals. Not a box of restriction, but a box of discipline, which is a very different thing. So in the 1, 2, and 3 years, sometimes we face challenges to prepare us for the 4 years, because those challenges are meant to help us to make sure that our foundation is in place, and if our foundation is not in place, to get it in place. So when I think about this, I think about the often mentioned health crisis that the SIT went through this summer, and how for us that was a challenge to our foundation in the Temple of Anu. We had to make sure that we had a protocol in place for continuing the work in his absence. We had to make sure we had a protocol in place for communicating, or I had to have a protocol in place for communicating with the Saru, and they had to have a protocol in place for communicating with the community. We had to have a protocol in place for communicating with Moot Shepset and communicating with Moot Kajara. We had to have a protocol in place for communions and for classes and for ongoing work while we supported his health and his wellness, so that we could make sure that the structure did not fall just because of this test. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, a test that hits us is either going to feel like a drizzle or a hurricane. And why it feels like a hurricane is because your foundation is shaky. If you're in a shaky foundation and your house is insecure and your water is coming in and you feeling the breeze blowing, then it's because you haven't shored up your own foundation. And if your foundation is strong and is prepared to withstand the storm, then that storm that hits you, that challenge that hits you, once the test comes to test you, it won't feel like nothing at all, because you're ready for it, because you're prepared for it. I'm going to back that up with some words from our ancestors. The book of Fibor, page 67. It's actually the very first quote on the page. He says, if a beam is longer than its right measure, the excess is cut off. If the wind blows beyond its right measure, it wrecks the ship. Those who apply the right measure, ma'at, balance, order, in all good things are not blamed. The God of just measure has created a balance in order to establish right measure on earth. He placed the heart deep in the body for the right measure of its owner. Thus, if those who are not learned are not balanced, their learning is of little use, and a fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune. Pride and arrogance are the destruction of their owner. Don't be prideful. Don't be arrogant. Don't think your structure is strong and just be like, I'm gonna just chill. And then that storm hit and you find out. Use the opportunities to figure that out before the storm. You don't wait till the test before you study, right? You study first and then you take the test. So we have to be clear about where we are and be honest with ourselves about where we are before we find out we ain't in such a good place at all. Like we done built our house on shaky ground. Pride and arrogance are the destruction of their owner, but those who are gentle in character create their own fate. And that's what we're all trying to do here, right? We're all trying to create our own reality, create our own fate, and create our future in the image that we choose. So I have to connect that to the ujat. Because when you think about creating your own fate, you have to think about having the vision to do so. We can't create a future for ourselves if we don't have the vision to imagine what our future will look like, have the vision to understand how to create that future, have the vision to be able to craft plans and intentions, have foresight, and understand the challenges that we might have to face so that we prepare for that. We can't create our own reality if we don't have insight, and along the way we make adjustments and changes to the plans in order to make sure that they work well for us. So we're talking about 2020 vision. We're talking about the ujat. The ujat represents the sound and whole eye. I just brought the candle up because I want everybody, those of you who may not be familiar with this symbol, I want everybody to be able to see the symbol of the whole and sound eye, okay? And it represents physical health and wellness, as well as spiritual ability and connection. Okay, so you see the symbols of the urat, the cobra, and of the nekbet, the vulture on the sides, which represent vitality and energy and devotion, okay, and protection. So we're talking about making sure that your first eye, what a lot of people call the third eye, is open, it's aware, it's sound, it's healthy, it's energetically vital, it is protected, and it is protecting, right? That's what this symbol represents for us. So these are all the things that we need for a strong foundation. If you don't have your health in order, you don't have a strong foundation. If you don't have your finances in order, you don't have a strong foundation. If you don't have emotional intelligence and you don't have your relationships in order, you don't have a strong foundation. If you haven't been feeding your ancestors and taking care of the Neteru that govern your life, your head, you don't have a strong foundation. So it's not about one thing or even just two things. It's the multitude of ways in which we are healthy on every level, okay? Making sure that we are healthy in all ways, all around wholeness and soundness as qualities of Ma'at. And I mentioned this at the Ankh ceremony, but I felt like it was necessary to go deeper into this because this is going to continue to be the theme of 2020, the theme of vision, the theme of the year where we must have the sight. And in order for us to have the sight, we have to have the foundation that allows us to see clearly. Because if we don't have that, then what we see could be muddy. It could be muddy, it could be unclear, it could be taking us in directions that are uncertain or are not correct for us to go in, right? We could have problems with our sight, with our vision, not necessarily literally, although I guess it could be literally in this 2020 year, but we could have problems with understanding what's real from what's unreal, right? Whether or not we should listen to our intuition, whether or not we should follow our first mind. We will have those types of problems if our foundation is unclear, if our foundation is shaky. So at the end of 2019, like the last few months of 2019, a lot of us were taking steps to shore up our foundation. That was the work that we were supposed to be doing in preparation for going into this year. But for anyone who hasn't done that work, it's not too late, like Wabet Hisa mentioned. We have the sun right now is in Capricorn still. I believe it's also in Saturn. The Saturn is in Capricorn, Pluto. And Saturn is in Pluto. Capricorn is in Pluto. Thank you. You said Mercury too right now? Mercury too. So we have all these planetary energies that are in Capricorn. Capricorn is our cardinal earth sign in astrology. Cardinal earth means that it's grounding. It means that it helps with our foundation, but it also means that it's a sign of action. That's what cardinal means. It's an initiatory sign. It moves, okay? It's a time for movement. So this is an excellent time to make sure you are making the moves you need to make to shore up that foundation. It's also in support of that is what she mentioned about all the planetary forces being direct right now. We have the support of the entire universe for the next couple of weeks to help us to get our affairs in order. So when people say things like, oh, the universe is dormant until the spring equinox, we better not be dormant until the spring equinox. We have work to do for the next 3 months, and we are supposed to be using this time for specific work to our benefits and betterment, okay? So over the next couple of weeks, if we understand where we're trying to go and what the goals are that we've set for ourselves, then take a step back from moving on those goals and look at your life, your clear picture of your physical condition, emotional condition, mental condition, and spiritual condition, and make sure that you've created and set the stage for you to start to do the work to accomplish that goal. That is what the next couple of weeks of our lives is supposed to be about. And then once we get into that new moon of Aquarius energy, then from there we can start to launch off into little by little every month doing a little bit more of the work. But now is the time for us to make the improvements. And every day is the time for us to capitalize on the energy of the divine cycle. There's no single day in all of the universe where we just supposed to be like, okay, I guess I'm done. Like even the days of rest is still strategic rest. I'm resting today because tomorrow I have to work. You understand? Like, so in days when the moon is void, of course, or when it's the last quarter moon, and they say, oh, this is the time to rest. Like, well, you resting because the new moon is coming. And when the new moon comes, you got more work to do. So you're not just resting just because you've done. You're resting because you're supporting your vitality. You're supporting your re-energization. You're supporting your rebirth that's going to come in a couple of days. So it's still all being done cyclically and in respect of the energies that move and that guide and govern us, okay? So I really wanted to talk about that because I really just want everybody to take advantage of this time. This power, this energy that we're in right now just feels extremely powerful to me. And it has been feeling like things in the cosmos and things within me and things within all of us are just moving. And it's just requiring something of us to give of ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, to better ourselves, to go after the things that we've said that we wanted. Now is not the time for us to be shy. Like if you had a dream and you was like, that dream might be too big, now is the time to dream that really too big dream. You understand? Now is the time to go after that sucker. Now is the time to be like, that's mine. It's mine because I've dreamed it. It's mine because I've envisioned it. It's mine because I know it. It's mine because the Neptune say so. And then to harness the energies around you and within you to make sure that what you say is yours is actually yours. And what you say you want, you actually go after and you actually can achieve and can create for yourself. All right? So y'all ready for this ceremony? All right. So again, the ceremony is quite simple.